like for things?
Things like me. Like, it's
Things
not my
go.
fault if I go to the store and a brand new iPad, iPhone, makeup, clothes, perfume. They call me, and it's unfair for me not to answer.
Okay.
So
So how does that now affect the money in all of this
it's
now?
not enough. The money has never been enough to answer all of them. So I feel, how do I put it? Who do I choose? Who do I pick? Who do I answer? There are regular bills, there are children things. It should be responsible of me to take one from the other, or maybe it's not really responsible, just answer them as they call. I don't know. These things affect me. Mental health, you know.
Okay, Sayo, I think you have some answers to her questions, right? Do you want to just wade in a bit for us before we move forward?
Okay. So before I answer Taya's questions, or before I speak about all the issues she has raised, I think I would like to sort of explain what consumerism means, so that the people viewing don't think, okay, what's this big word that they are talking about? So consumerism is really about society's obsession with the purchase of consumer goods. So it's really, as Taya has described, it's really about society is set up to take from you. That is how the markets are set up. That is how society is set up. It's set up to collect your money. You are set up to work, and society is set up to take from you. So it's just the way it is. So Taya, the situation you explain, or the situation you describe, is not peculiar to you. This is standard fact of life of every single person, all the way from the brokest person to the richest billionaire. We have insatiable wants and desires, but the resources to meet those needs are limited. So that's economics 101, secondary school, high school economics. Resources are limited, wants are enormous and insatiable. So this fact is the fact of life. It's not peculiar to you. It's not peculiar to anyone. Even when people have hundreds of millions of dollars, trust me, they want things that cost billions of dollars. And when they have hundreds of billions of dollars, then they want to go to the moon. Then they are talking about SpaceX. And then they are talking about buying over an entire social media. It is just the way life is set up. We want a lot more than our money can take care of. And that's why we're even having this conversation about consumerism. So we do not need pills. We need tips, tricks, and strategies in order to ensure that we channel our money correctly in a way that it makes us happy, it gives us fulfillment, but then it reaches the things that we need and some of the things that we want. And I guess that's why we're here having this conversation.
But there's nothing wrong with me.
No, there's nothing wrong with you, Tayo. Absolutely nothing. You're just like you're the same as the rest of us. Now, Shai, I've noticed a few words that you have used. Wants, needs, happiness, fulfillment, money, and things. So those are 6 words. What I want and what I need, 2 different things. I have money, or maybe I don't. And then, of course, there's a balance between I'm happy and I'm fulfilled that needs to be struck. So in all of this, it sounds like there is a need for a plan somehow, somewhere in this. You can't answer every call.
Well, right? I don't know if it's a plan necessarily, as much as where your mindset is at. We need to address the fact that do you believe that things make you happy? And I don't want to sound
materialist.
Well, yes, I'm too holy by saying no, things shouldn't make you happy. You should tie your happiness to, we do that when we go, no, things don't make me happy. I don't care if I have $1 million or no money. I'm like, give me $1 million first. Let me see if I'll be happy with it. Then let's discuss about if things make me happy or not. So the balance, I guess I want to talk about the balance of where your mindset should be. You know what I mean? So there's the extreme. They say, don't buy your $2 Tim Hortons coffee because you should save that money. And then there's this, that's what I feel that's on the extreme. Because I don't think that saving $2 every day would get you any closer to any goal. But it would affect your mental health, and it will affect your productivity. If you're like me with children who can't sleep through the night, you need that coffee boost if you're a coffee drinker, or whatever it is that does it for you. So that's an extreme. And then there's the other extreme that says, you know, that you keep buying and you're buying a $7,000 Burberry purse when you should, when you know your paycheck in the year is $7,000. You know, so the question is how do we, our mindset, because it's all in the mind, the battle is on the mind, right? So where is your mindset? Should things make you happy or should they not make you happy? Because really consumerism is the belief that your personal happiness comes from how much things you have. So should it be, and you know, have you seen those shows, Hoarder or Hoarding, that show on TLC, where they just have stuff, you know? So I guess my question is, what is the level of things to satisfy my happiness? Because if I don't have, I'll be sad. If I have too much,
you will still be sad.
I'll still be sad. I hear you. And I'd say there's no right or wrong answer to this. So there's no one size fits all on things about personal finance. So my favorite quote on personal finance is that personal finance is personal. Like that's the most important thing about personal finance is that personal finance is personal. It's more the personal than the finance. So a lot of the time we focus on the finance bit of it and forget the fact that the personal comes before finance. It's very personal. So what would make me happy is different from what will make you happy. And I think it's what's really important is for us to find our happiness. So one of my favorite personal finance quotes is, and I may not be saying it exactly this way, but it says something about money cannot buy happiness, but ensure you make a lot of it before you talk such nonsense. You know, and
you are very precise. You are accurate in that quote. By
money can buy happiness. Money answers it all.
When you have made a lot of money, at that point you will realize that indeed money cannot buy happiness. But when you cannot meet your basic needs in life, at that point, what you need to secure that happiness for you and your children for that day, if you cannot buy food or gas or the basic things you need, is money. So at that point, money is probably what you need for your happiness. But then when you make a lot of it, then you can talk such nonsense. But that's by the way. Why I talked about the fact that personal finance is personal is because I personally always recommend to people that we need to find what is critical for you, for your happiness, for your journey, for your money journey. So for example, for you, the $2 coffee is very important to your mental health. So if you were doing a spending plan, for example, or you were doing a budget, you absolutely have to include it in your budget. It probably means though that you would have to look away from something else that's also $2, but it's not important to you. It might be the $2 chocolate chip cookie. It's personal finance, and I think I always say that the tools to battle consumerism, one of it is about you determining for yourself what is important to me. I know that my money is limited. I cannot have it all. But then of course I cannot also cut it all because I will be living an absolutely deprived and unhappy life. So I have to understand that I can't have it all, but I can't cut it all. So I need to determine for myself what is important to me so I can determine what can I have and what can I not have. So if a $2 coffee is what is important to me, absolutely. Oh, go for it, absolutely. If your happiness is dependent on that, then go for it. But it also probably means if you're going to have your $2 coffee so that you're within your budget, I don't know your budget, it depends on your budget. It probably means you need to pack your lunch from home rather than also eating out. And if you have to eat out for lunch, then it probably means you can't eat out for dinner with your spouse. And so you eat office lunch, but you have to eat dinner in the house. You know, so it's really about making these choices, saying I will do this so that I will not do this, or I will not do this. I'll deprive myself of that coffee because there's something more important for me later on in the day that I need that $2 for. And it's really about making these choices, evaluating the choices in front of you and deciding what you're going to pick and what you're going to let go of, because you also cannot, eat everything. You can't consume everything that you earn. You've got to keep some aside. So it's about deciding what you're going to consume and what you're not going to consume, depending on what you want. I can't, like every time people reach out to me and say, should I spend this? Should I not spend this? My response is always, it depends. It's really about you. You know what you have, you know what you earn, you know what your goals are. You have to determine all of these things, and that should drive your spending. Dr. When you were talking, you talked about needs versus wants, because I mentioned that. And I'm very deliberate about these things. What do you need? As an individual, you need to determine what are your needs and what are your wants. Many things that we think we need are actually wants. The reference to mental health, COVID has made all of us mental health experts. And so we refer a lot to mental health for many things that are actually wants, and deprivation from them will actually not impact our mental health. But it's easy to just couch it under mental health. So I need that extra days for mental health. I need to change my phone for my mental health. I need a better car because I can't be going to the garage for my mental health. And and I'm not in any way belittling the impact of mental health issues. I understand it, I respect it, and absolutely, if you have issues in that area, you definitely should get help. So I'm not belittling it, absolutely. But then as well, as responsible adults, we have to make these choices. We have to understand, what do I actually need? I always say to everyone I'm maybe speaking to or consulting with, or having a consultation session with, what are your needs? They are very straightforward. Food, shelter, clothing. Maybe if you live in Canada like me, you need winter outfits. Nothing fancy. Your needs are very basic. What you need for health and survival in life, that is all you need. Basic food, rice and beans, maybe a piece of chicken. Even the chicken is maybe. But then the
That's
chicken,
not balanced diet.
you need the nutrients. But you get my point. It's really important that we are clear on what we need. And am I suggesting that we only live on what we need? Absolutely not. Life cannot run that way. Many of the things we want, we should actually get them. But in our minds, let's be absolutely clear what is a need and what is a want. It helps, because when I recognize that something is a want, it's not a need, I can decide, okay, I want this want and I'll go for it. Or I want it, I recognize it's a want, but you know what? Let me close my eyes to it, because it's a want. For the needs, you don't have a choice. You need Tylenol, you have to go buy it. You need a shower gel to take your bath. That is a need. You need water in your home. You need electricity. You can't do without those things. But then the things that are wants, those are the things we can actually juggle around and make choices for ourselves. I think I should pause here and give it right back to you, Doctor.
So earlier on, you had mentioned the way that society was built, right? I work for money, society takes it from me. That's the standard P. Now, with that in mind, how do you handle, the fear of missing out that comes with all the advertising? Facebook, as you open Facebook, you see what's on your mind, one very key post, then an advert follows. You open YouTube, first thing you see an ad first before you watch your video. Turn on the TV, it's one thing after the other. You step out of your house, there are signs, small businesses, big business, everybody's wants your attention. And they want your attention because they're going after your wallet hard. They're not giving it to you easy at all. So, and of course, there's peer pressure. You have colleagues, particularly those of us that came from Nigeria now, there are people that you came together and you consider yourself people's. Somebody has moved to his house, you are still in a rented apartment. One person has changed his car, you're like, I want to change my car too, but this level that this person has taken the game to, I would like to play at that level too, but so how do you manage that machinery that is designed to literally take every penny out of your pocket in the face of wants and needs and peer pressure and fear of missing out? I don't know, Tayo, Sayo, either of you, over to you.
Does Tayo want to go first? Okay. Let me start, because I want to start sort of where you stopped the last time. It was about the mindset. So that was what she said. And I think that's it. It's really about knowing yourself and deciding for yourself what's important. I always recommend, I know that we already had a full session on budgeting, So I wouldn't go too deep into that. But I know that budgeting saves lives and budgeting helps for this kind of dilemma. And when I say budgeting, some people don't like the word budget, so they prefer the word spending plan or plan for your money, whatever it is. The mindset, and then using these techniques. And I like long range budgeting, because when you only budget in pockets of maybe months or weeks and all of that, then you don't really see the full scope of your finances, and so it's easy to just run off and do something. But when you budget, way in advance, strategic type budgeting, so annual budgeting or even biannual, you already know from January this year the sort of big things that you want to spend by December or next year June. You already have planned 2024 summer vacation in 2022 July. So I recommend that kind of helicopter view of your finances. That way, I think it helps to curb the fear of missing out, because, okay, I don't have that car now that my friend got, but I also already have it in my plan that if these income levels are sustained, and if we can sustain these expense levels, these investing levels, then by June 2023, we have a plan to buy that kind of car, or by December 2024, we have a plan to go on that holiday. So it's sort of like helps you chill out a bit, because you know that it's coming, it's just not here yet. Versus if you only budgeted for next month and you're like, you know what, let's just buy this car. You're making decisions on the spur of the moment, versus if you've done like a full strategic view of your finances. So that's something I recommend that helps. And then, monitoring your budgets and then working through them, looking at your expenses, checking. And then, I think people just need to own their finances a lot more. We need to take responsibility for our finances a lot more. We can't just be running, after the whims and caprices of Amazon or of all these stores. People just say, why don't you change your sofas? These sofas are 50% off, and the next thing we are changing our sofas. Like, how? So I think just planning in advance for your consumer goods purchases and following through on your plans would really help curb our appetites and help us plan better. Tayo, you wanted something?
No, I agree with you. I agree with you a lot. And I like people's stories, and I kind of always pay attention to stories whenever I see one. And I've met different people over the years, as everybody has. And I met, at the time I was working in a company, and at that company, about 2 blocks down, there was a Goodwill, right? And every once in a while, I go there to look for old books and toys, And I walked in and I saw my vice president there, making maybe $250,000 a year, even maybe higher than $250,000 a year, big salary. And maybe bonus was also maybe 30% of something. Like, this guy was loaded. And I'm like, hey, and it's hi. And I'm like, you shop here? He goes, yeah. I'm like, explain. And he goes, well, I have 3 teenage boys. They're always ripping their pants. And I find that I keep buying these expensive pants for them at the store. So I come to Goodwill and I buy them for $2 or $3, and they rip it and I come right back. I'm like, wisdom. Like, this is the executive vice president of this big corporation here, makes more than $250,000 in annual salary base, and then some bonus and some stock options, and then shopping at Goodwill. I'm not saying go shop at Goodwill. I'm just realizing that there's a reason why rich people stay rich and poor people stay poor. Right? There's an old knowledge base out there of why people who are rich remain rich. And you might say, oh, they are stingy, or they are this or that. The truth of the matter is that there's an old principle to keeping on to money, to holding on to money, wealth generation. Principles have been tested time and time and time again, right? And so, and once again, I go into that religious aspect. You can't bind consumerism. Right? You're not going to pray it away. You're not going to ask to be laid hands upon so that you don't go shopping, if you understand what I mean. Because these are things, these are, how do you say it? These are things that we practice. I remember when I was growing up, my dad had just 1 car. Because I'm like, but why won't you change your car? And you go, why do I need to change my car? This one is not broken. Like, everybody's changing their car. That one is buying a Benz. The other one is buying a this and that. And this was at the age where they were importing all these new cars to Nigeria. And they said you only drive the Peugeot 505. I'm like, please, sir, change this car. It's embarrassing everybody in the community. And he goes, no, this car is not broken. I will not change it. The guy did not change it. right? And then I used to didn't like it. But now I realize that why do we run to the store each time to buy things? What is this old culture of just buying and just buying and and I'm guilty too. I look at my wardrobe and there are things I have labels on. I was like, why did I buy this dress? Why did I buy this shoe? I am not even wearing it. And then I put it in a bag and I brought this to Goodwill or to, and it's like, why did I even do that in the first instance? So I have to talk to myself and say, listen, the malls are there, God bless the malls. The stores are there, God bless the stores. TV is there, shut it off. Facebook is there. Go into their settings, remove Facebook from tracking my website. There's way you can do that, because now when you put on for those of us that have Google, what's that in your house? Google those things that's
all the speaker enabled
all
the microphone enabled speakers that listen to you.
Yes, once you say shoe, you put on Facebook, man, it's all shoe. You go to Google, it's shoe. You go to shoe. So turn off the settings on these things. So that's what I've done. Turn it off, because if I don't do those things, I'm not going to have anything at the end of the day. Don't accept the next credit card. After all, if I don't have the credit card to buy it, Abby, there's no way to buy it. So I guess for me, it's put practical things in place, because you know what? Amazon is not going to stop. Google is not going to stop. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep sending us ads and showing us those things. There'll be a new iPhone tomorrow. There'll be another iPhone after that tomorrow. There'll be another iPhone tomorrow. There'll be another brand new car. There'll be new cars. There'll be this and there will always be new things. Always, it's just that my income is not going as fast as inflation is growing. So I need to calm down. But otherwise, I agree with you, Sayo, that there's the whole plan that you need to plan. You need to make sure that you've thought about it properly. And I think tell yourself, really, it's not a big deal. I tell myself, really, it's not a big deal. Do I really need a 75-inch television to watch the game? Do I really need a 75-inch television?
The one you were watching on your phone before you got home, right?
Which one was
the game that you are watching on your phone?
On your phone, I was fine.
And now you got home. You now have to have a 75-inch TV to watch it. So yeah. I like the perspectives that you both have brought. Sayo, I like your pragmatism, which is what I've known you for from day one. You have a plan. Fear of missing out is actually a very correct. If you're scared that you're missing out on something, most likely it's because you don't have a plan to get it. If you had a plan to get it and you saw it, your response will most likely be, oh yeah, nice car. I'll get mine soon. Or mine is in the works. Or actually, I'm getting a better one, but it's not happening until 2 years and I'm fine to wait, because by then I will be ready and I will be able to afford it. So speaking about this a bit more, I think I want us to take a detour into environmental consciousness in the midst of all of this spending. I'm one of those people that got a rude shock when I finally entered Walmart and I couldn't get plastic bags anymore. And they made me pay $1.50 for their blue bags. And I went to Superstore and it was the same. And suddenly I can't get garbage. I now have to buy garbage bags. As in, I actually have to pay for garbage bags now, right? Because prior to now, I go to the store, I buy two or three of those plastic bags, and then I use that to take my garbage out, and I'm fine. That was my MO. But all that stuff is gone now. So I'm taking this conversation into that consciousness of the environment to say, hey, you know what? Part of the problem, part of when we spend the way society wants us to spend, is that we contribute to this huge pile of unrecyclable, or I like calling it unnecessary consumption. So you buy all these shoes that you don't need, all the boxes go out. Yes, the boxes decay. Yes, they are recyclable and all that. But those boxes didn't have to go out yet, because you really didn't need it, right? You buy all these clothes that you don't need, and then all these resources are used to produce them. You don't need them, so they stay in your closet for like 3 to 5 years, or 6 years, or maybe 10 years, and then you're like, okay, I bought this clothes 10 years ago. I haven't really used them. Maybe it's time to take them to Goodwill. Then you eventually take them to Goodwill. But those things just sat in your house, unused, resources just there, dead. And that definitely has its way of contributing to the environmental impact of consumption. So I think I just wanted to shine the light on that before we now go ahead and talk a bit more about a plan. We're about halfway through, so I'm just going to take this time to make a quick shout out to our people. This event is brought to you by Startup Court, but Startup Court is not alone. We're myself and Emmanuel Oluwatosi, who are directors at Startup Court, have the support of the Africa Center out in Edmonton, as well as the Calgary Foundation here in Calgary, to bring these events to life. This is part of a project that has been going on for probably about 3 months now, and will continue to the end of the year, where we are focusing and shining the light on personal finance and personal finance matters, because we believe that people of the Black race, people of African descent, have a right to building generational wealth. And the only reason why we have struggled so far is because we have not heard, so we have not taken action. So the more we speak and the more we hear, the more action we take, the better the likelihood that we're able to find ourselves in a position where, as people of color, as immigrants in Canada, as people of African heritage, we are able to create generational wealth for ourselves and for our children. That is the goal of this project. So with that being said, I also want to mention that please, if you have any thoughts or questions or ideas, you are free to share them in the chat. And as we progress, we'll bring that up to the rest of the audience and move the conversation forward. So with thoughtful spending in mind, Shai has talked about the need for a budget, a plan, a long-range plan. Without any prejudice to the fact that we've had a whole session on budgeting, what kind of, Shai, what's that process like for you, right? As somebody who has advised, you've done this yourself. I'm aware you've done this yourself over and over again, so you can't get away from that. And I will keep harping on it. But as somebody who has done it for yourself over and over again, and somebody who has supported other people in building what you call a helicopter budget, what's that process like?
Okay. So I know the tonight's session is more about consumerism, and that's really focused on spending. But I'm one of the personal finance creators or personal finance people that like to focus a lot more on income than on spending. So I really like this question because it lets me talk about our income, right? So with doing a budget or doing a spending plan or just owning your spending or owning your finances and, thoughtfully spending like you called it, I think a good place to start will always be your income. Because the truth is that it's important to focus on your spending. I'm not, in any way reducing the impact of what we're saying here, but the cutting your spending, cutting your expenses has a flaw. You can't cut your expenses beyond a particular level. You have to pay your mortgage or your rent. You have to feed. There are some things you have to do. So you can cut and cut and cut, and you get to a point you can't cut anymore. But that doesn't mean you'll be okay. That doesn't mean you will achieve the level of happiness that you want, like we had started the conversation with. But growing your income is something that doesn't have a limit. You can grow it to whatever. There is no cap to it. So I prefer that we focus more on the income level while still focusing on our expenses. Focus a lot on your income because that's really where you can make significant change. If you leave your income static and you're just focusing on your expenses, you keep struggling. But once you focus on your income and you grow it, that's when you can actually see significant, impact and tremendous change to your finances. So when you want to talk about budgeting or creating a spending plan, it's a good place is to start with your income. Look at your income. What do you earn from all income sources? Your employment income, business income, passive income, rental income, investment income, whatever your income sources, look at them And I like budget. When you create a budget template, it's great to list all potential income sources, even if you do not have them yet. That way, you sort of challenge yourself to say, okay, rental income, it's zero for now, but then you know that you have a plan to fill that bucket up. So look at all your income sources and then create an expense list. Create what is your recurring expenses. So expenses are twofold. There's the recurring expenses, which is monthly or weekly or bi-weekly or bi-monthly or quarterly or something, but they are recurrent. You do, irrespective of what you do, you're going to have to pay them. Your bills, your I don't know, if you're a business person, salaries, your groceries in the home, your rent, your mortgage, Netflix, subscriptions, all of those things. You have to do a list, like outline them. Then you also have to make a list of your non-recurrent expenses. This is where you now have to put in, oh, I want to buy a car. Oh, we're going on holiday. I want to do a certification that's going to cost so and so. I want to buy this. I want to buy that. And then I like to put a room for miscellaneous. So an extra line that just says all other things, or spending money, or play money, or enjoyment money, or something. You can call it whatever you like. Your budget is for you to determine. So just do that list. And the beautiful thing about that list is that you now at the bottom, take all the income, net off all the recurrent expenses. That tells you what you have, for example, on a monthly basis as a surplus, if you have a surplus, or a deficit. If you have a deficit, for example, it means you need to go back up and adjust. You either need to cut off some expenses or add some income. Something has to give. So it's really just sitting down and going through that thoughtful process of what do I earn? What do I spend? And then what do I have left over? Then the next phase is now, okay, what do I intend to spend? So it's like a forecasting process. You've gone through the monthly one or the bi-weekly one or something. You're now saying, okay, what do I want to spend? What are the expenses ahead of me in the next, 24 months or 1 year? Or in July, we have a holiday. Or in November, there's this. Or in December, there's Christmas. This is what we'd like to do. Or in April, there's a birthday. In this, there's this. Just make a list. It's good old Microsoft Excel, nothing fancy. In fact, if you prefer paper and biro, that works as well. Paper and biro with a big calculator like the bookkeepers in Nigeria use, that's perfect. Do it. Make a list. Own your finances by yourself. Take the ownership. It's at the end of the day, you might see that, oh my goodness, I find that when people go through this thoughtful exercise, they begin to feel overwhelmed. Oh my goodness, all of these things that I like to do are going to cost, in a 2-year period, it's going to cost me a total of $150,000. Oh my goodness, how do I get this kind of money? It does 2 things for you. It challenges you to grow your income. You now start hustling and looking for, how do I get more money? The other way around is that it helps you realize that, oh my goodness, I actually do not have enough for all these things I want to do. Maybe I need to step back, or this car that is still okay. Fine, I don't like it, but this plan to buy a car is going to cost us an extra 30K and we cannot afford it for now. You know what? Let's remove that from the spending plan. So when a car advertisement flies and they are telling you 0 interest rates, because you have done it in advance, you sort of already know that, this is completely not, it's completely out of reach for me. Let me think of, when we grow our income to this level, then car can come back in. So you are really thoughtful about the whole thing. You know where you need to get to do this, or what you need to grow your income by to get that. And it's really thoughtful, and it's a document that you can review monthly or quarterly, depending on you as an individual. And then we look at it, okay, what have we spent? What do we have? Are we spending in line with this plan? What have we done that is not in the plan? How do we remedy it? How do we play catch up? So it's just that having a finance meeting with myself. I like to have finance meetings with myself. Let's sit down and look at the numbers. That's really how we can figure out how to move ahead with our finances.
Fantastic, Sayo. I'm grateful that you've put it together in that way. Augustine has said this budgeting technique will really challenge one, more like a motivational advice, which will help you to achieve more. And I couldn't have put it better. You basically see where you are at, and you are like, okay, should I be allowing these people to move me? I know I don't have any wiggle room. There's no space to move here. So if I'm going to move, I need to go and move that top line and nothing else. Tayo was saying something.
I was just going to say something very mischievous. This kind of budgeting that you're talking about, Shayo, if it's between couples, I can just see the conversation going sideways. If there are other issues in that relationship, this kind of budgeting technique can cause some marital counseling moments.
No, I think really important that we are honest to each other as couple. If we cannot afford it, why should one person be in the dark and be thinking, we can buy car? Is it not car? We can go to
my husband can do it. My husband can do it. It's not my husband.
Whereas it's nice where there's transparency. Everybody, we're all on the same page. So that if it means us getting a second job, or if it means you that you're staying at home, you need to now start going to work. Like that is what will challenge us to have these conversations in our marriage. And we'll be better off for it.
Yes, I just can see being very spirited conversation. For those of us who are new, and I put spirited, for those of us who may be new to this society, where maybe back where you're from, only one person used to do all the, budgeting, and the other person, or you were never transparent with your money before, certain things used to go, about that joke of having the very mischievous thing I'm about to say, wife and girlfriend in Nigeria, standard P. Like I said, I'm being very mischievous right now.
So your matter right now.
I know. So this kind of budgeting technique, once again, is a enlightenment moment for couples. Yes.
And what it does is it can be a make or break moment as well. It's either binds you together or it rips you apart. But that's not where we are going today. So I'm not going to explore that any further. We've talked about what you should spend on much earlier. We spoke about wants and needs. Now, when I'm buying as a consumer, what are my rights? Do I have rights? Is there anything that that is my right in the buying process, right? Sayo, do you get me?
So yes, absolutely. And on this, I will be talking as a novice buyer, because I don't really know about consumer protection. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have details on what the rights are. But my expectation as a buyer is that when I'm buying a product, I'm expecting that this product will meet my needs. It's in good condition and it is at the right price for me. That's my expectation. So I expect honest practices from the vendor. If I'm coming on Amazon and you're telling me that, or on any portal, let me not even mention any name, and you're telling me something is 50% off, I want to believe that if I went on another website to buy that thing, it will be double the price. I expect honesty in the dealings and I expect quality, or at least let me not say I expect quality, because if I'm buying something at some certain price, I already know in my mind that thing is not quality, but I expect value for my money. Therefore, the money I am paying, you are delivering value to me. So that's my expectation as a buyer. And like I said, I'm not a buying or a procurement expert on this. So, but just as a novice buyer, as an exchange for my money, if I'm collecting your material for my hard-earned money, this is the minimum expectation from me.
Okay. Now, I think I just wanted to... Okay, Tayo, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
No, I agree. Or the whole idea that if I buy something I'm not particularly happy with, I can return it, and so my one standard question is, what is the return policy on this thing? I always ask, we can bring it back.
And that's the most beautiful thing about being in North America. I remember back home in Nigeria, once you walk out of the store, you bought it, it's done, game over. Whether anything happened to it or not is irrelevant. Have you left? You have left. Have they taken your money? They've counted it and it has entered their safe. You're done. There's no returning here. But definitely a return policy is something that has made it easy to be able to support commerce and ensure that people are willing to spend their money and buy. Now, I just wanted to highlight a few things for our information. So being an informed customer is quite an important thing. As far as product safety, food safety, packaging and labeling, compliance of packaging and labeling, anti-competitive price practices, and privacy complaints. all those things are protected. All those rights, all those are rights that you have as a buyer, and those rights are enshrined in federal law. So it doesn't change from province to province. The federal government determines what you can complain about as far as privacy is concerned, the use of your personal information, anti-competition rules are put in place by the federal government for our safety. Food safety, which is why every time there's a salmonella breakout, and meat purchases from a store have an issue, it's a federal issue. It's not a provincial or municipal problem. It's a federal issue. Provincially, contracts, landlord-tenant responsibilities, vehicle purchase, maintenance, repairs, credit reporting and collections, all those are driven by provincial practices. So you cannot go complain to the RCMP because you have an issue with your landlord. That is something that is guided by provincial law, and you will handle locally. So that, I just wanted to inform us about that. Now, we're going to spend a few minutes just talking about misrepresentation or scams that we have experienced. So if there's any common scam that you are aware of that happens in Canada, you can put that out there. But I'm going to mention the first one that I encountered when I came here that has not been addressed. And I still find it shocking. I personally find it shocking, and I consider it an affront on the financial system of Canada, that check fraud is still a problem in this country. That it still takes 5 days, 5 business days for a check to clear in the country of Canada. When I left Nigeria, checks would go to clearing in the morning, and by 3 p.m., you know whether there's value or not. I came to this country, and it was not unusual as a new immigrant to receive a text message from some funny individual saying that they've given you a job, and then you accept the job, and then 3 days later they tell you, oh yeah, we're going to send you a check in the mail. And when you get the check, buy XYZ and deliver to Mr. YYZ, who is our project manager or head of finance or whatever. And after delivering that, the remaining balance of $500 or $1,000, take that as your paycheck for the first 2 weeks of work. And guess what? Immigrant after immigrant after immigrant fell for that trick, and they continue to fall for it till today, because people are coming in country. POF is getting expended very quickly. Some people are trying to conserve it, and they are taking on these quote and unquote opportunities. And then suddenly, after 3 days, they find out that the bank calls. No, actually, it's not 3 days. 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later, or a month later, the bank calls, or they even just see that their account is overdrawn, and they're like, overdrawn, Bao, I've not spent that kind of money. And then they find out that their $500 that they've been managing for groceries has been wiped out by a $1,500 debit, because the bank has reversed this check, and now they need to come out of pocket to pay $1,500 that they had no knowledge of. So I personally find that very, very grievous. And the fact that I'm aware that till today, that scam is still happening, and there's no response for it, and I do not understand why. I don't know, maybe there's somebody who works in financial services who can shed the light on that here, but I still don't get it, and I still don't understand it. And I still don't know why the financial system has not been able to put something in place to protect new immigrants from this kind of fraud. There are all sorts of shades and fashion and types of it, but the game is still the same. Take a check, pay it into your account, draw money, send it to us, and then you face the music later.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't
We
know.
have a comment from Tony. Good talk, folks. Some awesome takeaway from me and helicopter, long-term budgeting. We do monthly budgets very well, but not the long-term, not the long-term ones well laid out. Thank you. Wow. That I don't know what to say to that emotional
No,
moment.
I'm just bringing it up because it's one thing that I know that this is one thing that I know that it just does not add up for me, and I do not understand why it's still there, but it is
So,
still there.
so one day I was told I went to the bank to cash a check, and they wouldn't cash it for me. So they said to go certify it, right? To so if you have one bank check and you are in a different branch, they'll tell you in a different bank, they say go certify it, and you have to use money to certify. And what they do is they take that check and they look into the account of the that you're trying to cash the check from, and they check it. And I had to ask them why, and they of course say that, well, if it's a bad check, they will deduct the money from the teller's account, which I'm like, but I thought this was CDIC insured. And so what I think they do is they take the check and they mail it to, I don't know where the exchanges are, but they'll mail it there. And until that mails, when it goes there, I know what you're saying, because for me, I find it very frustrating too that that your checks can't clear on time. And this is bad because people come to North America and Canada and they expect a certain level of financial, what's the word? Financial, yes, that's one. I don't know the word, but there's a certain level you expect when you come
Financial savvy by the
financial
system.
savvy by the system.
System
Thank
to be
you.
good.
Yes, and so when you're now dealing with where even your own country, when I left my country that I came from, we used to take pictures already to scan checks in, right? We could deposit the check at the ATM machine, right? And so coming here to Canada, I was unable to do that, As I understand but the best you can do actually is just to inform people and educate people. No job, as far as I know, will tell you to go and buy stuff and I'll send them the balance.
In your first week.
In your first week. It doesn't work. You don't get a credit card except you're an auditor, right? So no job will tell you to buy anything at all, right? And if you're not sure, call. The problem is, though, is I find that a lot of people don't talk about their issues with people. I don't know if it's me, you kind of just silo yourself out and I got a job, let me be quiet about it. Some of these things, if you ask people, hey, this is the job I got, what are your thoughts? They'll tell you, doesn't sound right, or it sounds right, doesn't sound legit, or it sounds legit, So maybe we need to do that as a community of people, ask questions. But I know for a fact in North America, it doesn't work that way. Where they'll send you a check and then they'll tell you to buy and send them the balance. No, there are procedures, protocol to spending money. There's a whole department in your corporation that does accounts payable, and their job is to cut checks out, and they are very good at what they do. So I wouldn't imagine that. But we need to tell ourselves, we need to mention these things, especially to new people who just come. So if you see people, like I know one time I went to the registry and I saw this new immigrant couple who had just come in and they were having problem understanding the person on the other side. It was very, very painful. The other person was a non-native English speaker. They too were non-native English speaker. All of them both had accents. They are saying, can you give me your card? He said, huh? Can you give me your card? He said, huh? And I'll wait, calm down. So I'm like, let me help you speak the proper English. I understand both of you well. My accent is still okay, maybe. And then I helped them out. And I was happy to do that. And I gave them a write-up and I said, listen, if you need help, give me a call, because you are new here. And I'm not saying you're not school. Some of the people have studied in the UK, they've studied in the US, they've been to Germany, Ukraine, but you are here, you are new, and the rules are different, slightly different. So take it upon yourself to help somebody else. So you hear somebody who is struggling, be nice, be kind. Tell people, help out, because really, that's why we're a community. And
I would like to, Sayo, I'd like to draw attention to logos and links on the web. The fact that it's an RBC logo or a CIBC logo or a Scotiabank logo does not mean it's from CIBC or RBC or Scotiabank. Check the URL. If it is not https//RBC, It is not RBC. Do not click it. If you click it, they take your information, sweep your account. It's your fault. Same. And so be careful about logos and links. Don't let the picture fool you. If you get a text message that says claim your money claim your childcare benefit from the CRA, check if that thing does not say canada.ca/taxes or/service Canada, or isn't a government URL. It's not right.
But you can't claim
to take the
anything from
money.
the government. Government doesn't let you claim. They pay your account or they send you a letter. There's no claiming with the CRA. No, but the language is important. There's no what's that one that you get on the phone when they say we are coming to arrest you, your CIA, your SIN number, and the
used
Department of Federal Bureau. I don't know what they are saying, and I'm like, there's no Department of FBI here, not in Canada. Maybe there's a Department of FBI in, I don't know, but not in Canada. Yeah, I'm aware. And if they want to come and arrest you, they don't let you know. They just kind of show up. Not that I've been arrested before, but.
So I just wanted to talk generally about scams and the way they work, or about scams generally, because they are. It's really important, and Dr. Thanks for bringing this up, because that's one way to derail your personal finance journey. So I'll say that all of these examples that we have given, and there are several other examples that you might even be the first person to encounter it. The most important thing is that you are scam aware. You have to always remember, if it looks too good to be true, then it is untrue. If it doesn't feel right, then most likely it is not right. So, I think common sense knowledge works in our overall scam awareness. So just try to protect yourself so that you're not a victim of scam. The money that we are saying is not enough. It's now not the kind of money, it's already not enough. You'll now be dashing it out to someone that is not even going to use it for anything useful. So I think just always remembering that you have to protect yourself. If you get something, anything, once you see money unsolicited, the first thing you should do is get your guards up. Like, don't at that moment let your guards down. The first thing you do is, no, this is not right. Let it prove itself to you that it is right. Rather than you feeling, oh, this is right, let me go for it. Then you find out it is wrong. Unsolicited money, unsolicited anything, financial transaction that you did not initiate, was initiated by another party. Just have a guard up, because there's a potential of it being a scam. I also wanted, because I know, Dr. you had asked us about the common things we have seen. Now, I think one common thing that I have seen in Canada, and this is sort of in line with the consumerism topic that we're discussing, which is why I wanted to bring it up, is about sales. It's about, many times you'd hear, Black Friday, Thanksgiving sales, Boxing Day sales, lowest price of the year, best price for the season. I've seen so many of it is false. So many of it, it's just all marketing gimmicks. We've heard of a lot of merchants that would run up the price of something in advance of a sale. So indeed, they are giving you 50% off. They will put MRSP or MSRP, so most recent selling price. So they are not lying. Indeed, the most recent selling price of the thing is actually 2 times the price it sold 2 weeks before. So they know there's going to be a sale in a week. They multiply the price. So the most recent selling price is of something that was ordinarily 100 is now 200. And then next week, they cut it by 50%. It's back to 100, and they say 50% off SRP, and we're all running around. It's not technically a scam, but it's also something that we need to be aware of. That is this thing really a deal, or am I just buying something I don't need because I think there's a perception of a deal? So let's just be aware of these sort of things. Another thing I wanted to mention is the scanning code of practice in Canada. This is something I learned. It's not a scam, it's an error, but you just need to be aware of it. So there's a scanning code of practice, and you can Google it, because I don't have enough time to go into like all the vendors that are signed up to it. But there's a code that several vendors, many of the grocery chains and the big merchants that are popular in Canada are signed up to that code. Now, what the code says is that if you buy something at the store and it scans incorrectly, you get to take that thing home for free. So what it means is that if, for example, you go to a store, let's say Walmart or Loblaws or any of these stores, you take the item, you scan it at the till. At the shelf, it said it was $8.99, but then you go to the till and it's scanned as $10.99. You let them know it's scanned incorrectly, so I'm taking this thing for free. It's just a tip. You never know. There are many times that things scan incorrectly, through no fault of yours, but through no fault of theirs. But the scanning code of practice in Canada says that things have to scan correctly in your store if you have signed up with us to be a part of this deal. And so if your things are not scanning correctly, we don't want to assume you are cheating people. Because, some people can actually, you see something and pick it up and say it's $7.99. You come, it's actually $12.99. You don't realize until you get home and you see your receipt and you was like, oh my goodness, I thought I saw $7.99 in the store. So just be careful when you're buying, when your receipt is being scanned at the store. If something's scanned incorrectly, point their attention to it and let them know that this code of practice says you have to take that item for free. So that's just something I thought I should mention because we were talking in this line.
Wow, that's information for me because that has happened to me more than once. And typically what they would do is they would give me the price that it says, or they would take it off and say, okay, we can't confirm the price now, so you can't take this away now. I didn't know I could trigger something that will get me the item as a freebie. So this is good information for me that I will try when next it happens to me. Okay, now this is 7:03 p.m. I would like to stop, but the gist is sweet. I think the beautiful thing is that we've covered the key things that I wanted to talk about today, which is basically the fact that, you know what, your wants are infinite and insatiable. Your needs are finite and achievable. Your cash or money or funds are limited for now, but the time length for now is in your hands. It's up to you. You are the one that determines how long that will take. The fact that that is the case is also in your hands, and all you need is a plan, a spending plan, as Sayo referred to it. Episode 3 will be uploaded later tonight, so you can watch our session on budgeting, or you can check out the page of @FinanceMom, @TheFinanceMom on Instagram, and check out her tips and tricks on building in her words, a helicopter budget. I found that one very helpful. So these are key things. We've talked a bit about scams. We've talked a bit about where your protections are. And Tony, thanks very much for your comment once again. I share your perspective that a monthly budget is easy to build and adhere to. A long-range plan, a year in advance, 2 years in advance, 3 years in advance can be challenging to build, much less adhere to. So, but definitely what those do is that it takes away the fear of missing out. You suddenly are no longer afraid to miss out because your neighbor went to Bali and is back, and they came back and then bought a G-Wagon immediately. Because it's either you know that you can't afford the G-Wagon, so you're not thinking about it, or you are going to Banff because you know that that's what you can afford for now, but you have a plan to be able to afford your own G-Wagon in the future. So this has been a very helpful conversation for me personally, and I believe we've learned a thing or two here. Sayo, thanks for sharing with us with the SCOP nugget. I definitely am going to make use of that. I think this would be a good place to wrap it up. So I want to let Sayo say her last word, her parting shot before I wrap this up finally.
Okay, thank you, Dotwan. Thanks again for having me. Thanks, Tayo, for a good conversation. I think I'll just wrap up with this phrase. This is something I quote a lot. And anyone that follows me on Instagram knows this. I always say, looking rich is different from being rich. The goal is to be rich, not to look rich. So all of this pressure to look rich, to look, be like the Joneses, keep up, use the newest, shiniest things, many times they would actually prevent you from being rich. So yeah, we look rich maybe on debt, you know. So I want to encourage everyone that's listening, and I'm not preaching because I know that let us encourage you as you are listening. It's when we are preaching, I'm not preaching, but I think it's important that you focus on your finances to be rich, not to look rich, you know. And then when you are rich, actually, you realize that you don't even have the pressure to look rich. You don't care about what people think. The most important thing is that you are balling on your own by yourself. It doesn't matter what people think. It's when you are actually not yet there, you now start feeling that pressure. So focus on being rich, and you see that looking rich would go really, really like all the way down in your priority list. So like I said, focus on being rich and not looking rich. So have a lovely evening, and thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sayo. I think that's a beautiful way to close up. I am going to work on being rich more than looking rich. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for spending the last 1 hour with us, having this beautiful conversation around consumerism. I'd like to thank Tayo for being an amazing conversation partner in this series. This is webinar number 6 of 6. Yay! Amazing. The Way Out of Rat Race project is 3 months going. We're going to keep going for a bit. Check out our social media handles at Way Out of Rat Race. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Our website, wayoutofratrace.com, is going live with all of this content. Kersha Campbell, who was our facilitator on credit, has spent a lot of time translating into Black speak a lot of the personal finance content that we've been able to access. So you'll be reading familiar subject matter in recognizable language, so to speak. In addition to that, you will have all of these videos that we have been making from these conversations that we've been having, and more of them will continue to come, because this is not a 6-week or 3-month project. This is an ongoing project of Startup Court, and we believe that the more we talk about personal finance, the closer we are to beginning to build generational wealth as a people in this country. So with that, I'd like to thank my partner in crime, Emmanuel Oluwatosin. He's not here right now. He couldn't make it today, but he's been a fantastic support driving this project forward. I'd like to thank everyone at the Africa Center with their offices now in Calgary and Edmonton. Sandra, Sharif, Kojo, Eve, Shamim, all people I've worked with at some point in the last in the course of this year, actually, the tax clinic that myself and Tayo worked on at their place. I would like to thank everybody at Calgary Foundation for supporting us, making this project come to life. I would like to thank you very much. And Sayo Tola-Adenaike, thank you very much for being a fantastic subject matter expert this evening. With that, I'll say thank you to everyone, and bye for now. See you around.
Thank you, everybody.